Now, as we move on, this week marks Employee Wellness Week. This is an annual initiative aimed at raising awareness and encouraging employees to follow a healthy lifestyle. For this conversation, I'm joined by Professor Pamela Naidoo, Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa Chief Executive Officer. Professor Naidoo, appreciate your time. Let's talk about the movement in employee wellness over the last sort of 10 years. It almost seems as if it's no longer about the individual to take care of their own health and wellness, but it is something that the employer is taking part in.
Yes, absolutely. It's great to be on your show. So essentially, I think you're absolutely right. You know, we all come into our places of work with particular difficulties. Could be mental health issues. It could be medical conditions that we have that we don't talk about because, you know, there might be some degree of stigmatization around these issues. And so, you know, when we have difficulties at work, it's even more difficult to talk about these issues. Hence, highlighting employee wellness brings to people's attention that actually the individuals that's sitting behind the desk or is on the factory floor come with many difficulties. And so if you want to raise productivity in your places of work and your organizations, you really ought to be taking health in a much more holistic way, which is, you know, mental and physical health.
So let's talk about the key components of a successful corporate wellness program.
Yes, so a successful corporate wellness program is not just the one that's contrived and you have an employee wellness day. I think the idea that the Heart and Stroke Foundation would like to convey is that you have to actually look at daily work environment. So, you know, it's almost akin to saying that it's pointless doing a stress test once a month. We need to track your daily stresses because that is cumulative. Having said that, though, the employee wellness programs or days that companies have, where they invite specialists to come in or organizations like ourselves, it essentially covers it's quite complex. But I think for the viewers, it's enough to know that it's important to know your family history. It's important to know your genetics, so to speak, but it's also important to know your numbers. So, you know, what is your blood pressure? What is your glucose levels? What is your cholesterol sitting at? And then over and above that, are there behavioral factors that we can help you modify? So, risk factors for heart disease, strokes, and other medical conditions, and mental health for that matter, really lies in many of our behaviors. So what's our nutrition like? Do we smoke tobacco? Do we vape? Do we have excessive alcohol consumption? Are we physically fit? So it's these cumulative risks that we need to track. And if we find that people are at risk, we then indeed will then engage them in a further program of education and referral pathway. So refer to your medical practitioner or a local clinic or the nurse at work. So it's quite holistic. While we can argue that, you know, individuals should take their responsibility for their own health, I do think that it's not as simple as that. We need to create an enabling environment for that.
I'm going to touch on the enabling environment in a moment, but I just want to go back to the fact that this is Health and Employee Wellness Week, if you will, and that various individuals or various corporates or organizations will engage service providers such as yourself and others to come in on a particular day. But this is only once a year. So what's happening to the other 364 days in the year to ensure that staff or employees maintain the right levels of health awareness?
Yes, very important question. Thank you for that. Yeah, so absolutely. I do think there must be channels. Look, many corporates and many organizations are fortunate to have a human resources department. So you should actually use that to your advantage as well. I think there's a lot of suspicion around, I'm not so sure because maybe the HR person is going to report it to my manager and so on. But everybody is held to account and is held to confidentiality. So you should make use of those, resources. However, having said that, I do think that what you need to do is also create those enabling environments at work where if people needed to get out to get some fresh air for 5 minutes, not to smoke, obviously, you want to discourage that. It's okay to do so. If you want to stand and, then provide those facilities where you have a standing desk. If you want to get in health practitioners or allied health practitioners who can run a yoga class once a week, even if it's after working hours. So I think it's, the common cliche is to try and attain a work-life balance. And it's not to say that the work environment is creating the problem. I think that all our environments are stressful, from home to commuting to work. And then obviously there are direct stress-related factors in the work environment. So I think it's really about building a repertoire of coping strategies, if you like, to, despite having a stressful condition, a medical condition or mental health challenges, you need to be able to take your medication, your treatment regimen, but also create some self-soothing methods, if I may put it that way, that allows you to attain some degree of health and well-being.
You're absolutely right. Professor Pamela Naidoo, Heart and Stroke Foundation South Africa Chief Executive Officer. Appreciate your time this afternoon speaking on the significance of employee